The birds left the East Ridge this morning. The sky was abnormally silent. In the dimly lit barracks, Jiro lingered behind Naoki, eyes fixed on the diary.
Birds leaving. That could be a sign the captain wants to hear. Captain, I have interesting news. The quiet cadet wrote about the East Ridge birds.
Excellent. We'll hit East Ridge at dawn. Make sure the herd is ready.
That night, masked soldiers used flares and noise to guide a Titan toward the eastern wall. By dawn, the Titan breached the gate, and the East Ridge fell into chaos and bloodshed.
The birds, they flew away before the attack. How could they have known?
His diary had recorded the exact warning the night before. But who would believe a cadet? The quiet boy's notebook was about to become the most dangerous evidence in the kingdom. 3 days after the East Ridge fell, Captain Isao conducted a surprise barracks inspection.
What do we have here? A cadet's personal journal with disturbing entries.
That's my diary. Why is he reading it in front of everyone?
The day before the East Ridge attack, you wrote the birds had fled. That is not coincidence, it's espionage.
I only write what I see. The birds, the deer, the wind. It's just a diary.
Take him to the interrogation block. We'll get the truth from a spy.
Rough hands seized Naoki and dragged him from the barracks as his fellow cadets watched in shock.
Spy? They think I'm a spy? This can't be real.
In the cold interrogation room, Captain Isao slammed the diary onto the metal table, the sound echoing like a verdict.
Explain how every entry in this book matches our attack locations, or I'll have you executed as a traitor.
I've never spoken to the enemy. I am just a cadet who watches the world and writes things down.
Then explain this entry. The deer fled the southern wood, exactly 1 day before the southern breach. Coincidence?
I wrote that because I saw them running. How could observing animals be a crime?
That afternoon, Naoki had stood at the forest edge, noting the unusual panic in the deer herd.
They were scared. I thought a storm was coming, not a Titan.
And here, a week before the North Gate fell, you observed wind shifts that scattered our scouts' signals. You were coordinating with the Titans.
The wind was strange that day. I look at clouds and leaves. It's all I do. It's just how I am.
For every attack, the diary held a record of nature's warning. And for every record, Naoki had no defense.
I am going to die because I paid attention to birds and deer.
The interrogation room closed in around him, the diary's pages becoming a cage of his own making. The door opened, and Captain Isao summoned a new witness, Cadet Jiro, Naoki's closest friend.
Jiro, you shared barracks with the accused. Did he ever act suspiciously? Speak truthfully.
He was always scribbling in that book, hiding it from everyone. I saw him sneak out at night too.
Jiro, why are you saying this? You knew I only watched the birds.
Before the arrests, they had been inseparable. Two quiet cadets who understood each other.
Jiro, we talked about the deer together. You said you found it interesting.
He's twisting things. He always kept to himself, and his explanations never made sense.
Naoki could only stare, the betrayal cutting deeper than any accusation.
The evidence is clear. Naoki, you are sentenced to death for high treason. Execution in 3 days.
Guards dragged Naoki to a dark cell. His friend's lie pressed on his chest, heavier than chains.
The birds, the deer, the wind, they were just things I noticed. Why did they lead to this?
In the cell's silence, he traced every observation, searching for the accusation buried in the ordinary. Each diary entry used to be a small comfort, proof that the world kept turning. On the other side of the garrison, Intelligence Officer May took on the case no one wanted.
A conviction based on a diary of weather and animals. This is either a clumsy spy or a terrible mistake.
Unaware his fate rested with a stranger, Naoki pressed his forehead to the cold bars.
The prosecution never questioned the diary's accuracy. They just used it. That's not justice.
She spread the pages across her desk and began a meticulous comparison of every timestamp. The handwriting was unhurried, the observations calm, not the work of a man coordinating attacks. Closing the file, one question burned. Who was this boy who noticed everything? The following evening, May walked into the damp jail wing and stopped before Naoki's cell.
I am May, from Intelligence. I've been reviewing your diary. Tell me about the birds.
The birds. They know things before we do. When they leave, something is terribly wrong.
He described them with such specificity. The red-winged flock that always roosted by the East Bell Tower.
The deer are even more sensitive. If they flee the forest, something is coming from that direction.
He's not reciting a spy's justification. He's describing a habit, a quiet obsession.
I never thought it was special. Just what I saw on patrol, on watch. Every cadet looks, don't they?
Most cadets sleep through their watches. He didn't just look, he connected.
With every answer, the gap between the evidence and the accused widened, leaving only a boy who paid attention. She tucked the notebook away, now carrying a question far heavier than any accusation. Back in her office, May laid every diary page alongside the attack reports, comparing dates in the lamplight.
The day of the attack is always the same as the entry date. He couldn't have known days in advance.
With a ruler, she drew lines from each entry to the corresponding breach. A pattern emerged, sharp as a blade.
Saturday night, he wrote about the deer. Sunday dawn, the southern gate fell. That's not prediction, that's leakage.
She plotted the attack points on a wall map, pins clustering around the east ridge, the southern wood, the north gate.
Someone inside our own command is reading his diary and scheduling the attacks the very next morning.
The diary wasn't a spy's confession. It was a stolen schedule, exploited by someone who knew exactly when he wrote.
Naoki is innocent, but whoever fed this to the Titan herders is still out there, and execution is days away.
She pulled a fresh notebook, underlining a single question. Who had access to the barracks before every attack?
Someone close enough to read that diary every night. Jiro. But why? And who gave the order?
The next afternoon, May ordered Cadet Jiro into the same interrogation room that had sealed Naoki's fate.
Jiro, you shared a bunk with Naoki. You knew his habits. Tell me again how you discovered his diary.
I just saw it one night. He was writing, always writing. I thought it was strange, so I told the captain.
Strange. You described it as secretive in your testimony. Which was it? Strange or suspicious?
Both. I mean, he never let anyone read it. That's suspicious, right?
A bead of sweat rolled down Jiro's temple. His fingers twisted in his lap, betraying the lie.
His answers shift like sand. He's more afraid of the truth than of me.
She recalled the barracks duty logs. Night after night, Jiro's patrol route took him past Naoki's desk.
He had every chance to read it, and every reason to hand the information to someone.
She closed her notebook, her suspicions solidified. Jiro was a gate, and she needed to find the key behind him. That night, May requisitioned the battalion movement logs, a record of every cadet's signed exits.
Jiro's name appears at least 3 nights a week, always between midnight and 2. Never for official duty.
She matched the dates against the diary entries. Every night, Naoki wrote, Jiro slipped out within the hour.
He wasn't wandering the grounds. He was delivering information. And the destination is always the same.
The log showed his destination. Captain Isao's private office, the same officer who had sentenced Naoki.
Isao used the diary to schedule attacks and needed Jiro to feed him the entries the moment they were written.
The pattern was flawless. Jiro was the courier, Isao the architect, and Naoki the unwitting prophet.
If I move too soon, Isao will bury every trace. I need Jiro to confess, and I need hard proof from Isao's own hand.
She drafted a summons for Jiro's second interrogation, but this time her questions would be backed by damning records. Before dawn, she laid out the evidence on her corkboard, a conspiracy that started with a stolen diary and ended in treason. That same afternoon, guards escorted Jiro back to the interrogation room, where a thick folder awaited.
We have your movement logs, Jiro. Every secret midnight visit to Captain Isao's office. Stop lying.
I was just reporting. He paid me, but I never thought it would lead to this. Please.
He crumbled, the confession pouring out between sobs. Isao wanted the diary's contents, night after night.
He said it was for strategic analysis. I didn't know about the Titan attacks, I swear.
But you kept going. Even after the East Ridge fell, you kept feeding him Naoki's words.
The memory of coin purses and whispered orders in dark alcoves flooded back, and Jiro's last defense shattered.
He'll kill me if he finds out I told you. You have to protect me.
Then help me get proof. Signed orders, correspondence, anything from his office. That's your only safety.
The confession was real, but without documents, it was just a cadet's word against a decorated captain.
Isao will be at the training grounds for hours. This is my only chance.
She moved to his desk, where a locked drawer drew her eye. The lock was old, she was quick.
Classified orders. Signed by Isao himself. Operation False Dawn.
Authorize herding unit to drive Titans toward East Ridge. Civilian casualties will be attributed to enemy action. The documents detailed false flag operations across the kingdom, signed and stamped with military authority.
They're herding Titans to our own walls to justify harsh laws and military expansion. My own commander.
The imagery was undeniable. Troops with flares driving the creatures toward the breach points.
I need to copy every page. If I am caught, I am dead. But Naoki dies for nothing without this.
She photographed each order, returning the originals to their place. The copies burned in her pocket. Slipping out, she became the most wanted woman in the kingdom, holding proof that could shatter the walls from within. In the dim corridor, a sharp voice froze her blood. Captain Isao had returned early.
What were you doing in my office? Answer, or I'll have you shot where you stand.
He doesn't know what I took. Stay calm and lie.
Isao's cold gaze dropped to the slight bulge under her coat. His hand twitched toward his pistol.
If you've touched those files, your parents won't survive the week. Now give me everything.
My parents. He knows. I have to give him the real copies and hide the originals.
Hands shaking, she handed over a small stack of her own notes, leaving the real evidence hidden.
Now destroy every copy, or I'll make sure you watch your family die.
Alone, she slid to the floor, clutching a hidden photo of her parents. Tears came, then iron resolve.
General Takeda is the only one with the authority to stop this. I have to reach him tomorrow.
The morning sun crawled over the wall, illuminating the execution platform in the city square. Naoki, in shackles, was led toward the platform as the crowd jeered, his eyes hollow. In the shadows of the garrison, Mei moved swiftly, a sealed envelope pressed to her chest. She intercepted General Takeda on his morning walk, far from prying eyes and Isao's watchers.
General, I have proof of a false flag conspiracy. The Titan attacks are staged by our own forces.
Those are treasonous words, officer. What evidence could you possibly have?
Orders signed by Captain Isao. He threatened my family. Please, just read.
Takeda hesitated, then took the envelope. His brow furrowed as he scanned the first page.
Please see the truth. For Naoki. For the kingdom.
The general said nothing more. He tucked the envelope inside his coat and walked toward the execution ground. Noon. The square filled with soldiers and citizens, all straining to witness the traitor's end. Naoki, pale and thin, was forced onto the scaffold. The noose swayed above him like a pendulum.
The sky today. It's the same quiet blue I wrote about so many times.
Captain Isao strode across the platform, his voice cutting through the murmurs with cold satisfaction.
Today, justice is served. Let this be a lesson to all who would conspire against the kingdom.
In the crowd, General Takeda stood motionless, his right hand pressed against his coat where the envelope rested.
They'll never know. I just watched the world. I hope someone remembers that.
Any last words, spy? Speak them quickly.
The crowd fell silent. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath, waiting. Takeda's jaw tightened. One word from him could stop everything, but the timing had to be perfect. Before the executioner could move, May burst from the crowd, her uniform disheveled, her voice raw with desperation.
Stop everything. This boy is innocent. General Takeda, I have the proof.
She thrust the envelope into Takeda's hands just as Captain Isao's face twisted in fury.
Guards, remove this woman. She is a conspirator herself. Shoot her.
Hold your men, Captain. I will see this evidence for myself, and anyone who interferes will answer to me.
Takeda's voice cut through the chaos. The guards froze, their rifles half raised, eyes darting between the two officers. With steady hands, the general opened the envelope. The square fell deathly silent as he began to read.
That officer, she's the one who interviewed me. Why would she risk her life?
Isao's hand crept toward his pistol, but before he could draw, Takeda's aide silently blocked his path. The general's eyes moved across the pages, his expression darkening with every damning line. Takeda's voice rang out, cutting through the tense silence like a blade. He held the papers high for all to see.
These are forgeries. The girl fabricated them to save her lover. You cannot trust a traitor's word.
But Takeda was not finished. He produced a second document, Jiro's sworn confession, signed and witnessed. The crowd shifted, murmurs spreading like wildfire as the pieces fell into place.
Jiro confessed to spying on Naoki's diary under your direct orders. You used a cadet's observations to schedule false flag attacks.
Isao's face twisted, sweat beading on his brow. His hand trembled toward his pistol. Before he could draw, May seized his wrist, her eyes blazing with cold fury. Guards, disarm him, Takeda commanded. Isao's pistol clattered to the wood as soldiers subdued him.
Captain Isao, you are stripped of rank and placed under arrest for high treason. You will face the justice you denied others.
The traitor was dragged from the platform, the crowd's jeers replacing the terror that had gripped them moments before. General Takeda raised his hand for silence. The crowd stilled, hanging on his every word.
The attacks on our walls were not random. They were orchestrated by our own command for power.
Murmurs exploded into shouts of disbelief as the truth sank into 10,000 hearts.
This was false flag warfare, cruel, calculated treason to justify harsh laws and military expansion.
So my diary wasn't a spy's tool. It was proof of their crimes.
On Takeda's signal, a guard stepped forward and cut the ropes binding Naoki's wrists.
The sun feels different when you thought you'd never feel it again.
He's finally free. His diary will change everything.
This boy's observations exposed a conspiracy that would have enslaved us all. He is not a spy. He is a hero of the truth.
Naoki stood bewildered as the crowd's anger shifted to the absent traitors. The kingdom had been shattered open, and nothing would be the same. Naoki stood outside Jiro's cell, the iron bars cold between them. For a long moment, neither spoke.
You were my only friend, Jiro. Why did you hand my diary to them?
I was stupid and greedy. Isao paid me. I never thought it would go this far. I am sorry.
He really believed it was just information. He didn't know they'd turn my words into weapons. I understand. You were used just like me. I forgive you, Jiro.
Jiro slumped against the bars, tears cutting tracks through the grime on his face.
You are forgiving me? After I almost got you killed?
Holding anger won't bring back the dead. I just want to notice the world again.
May watched from the shadows, a silent witness to a forgiveness that felt heavier than any sentence. Naoki turned and walked away, leaving Jiro to face his own consequences. The weight on his chest had lightened. Weeks later, the kingdom's high officers filled the great tribunal, witness to a truth that had been buried in blood. On the table lay Isao's orders, Jiro's signed confession, and a small, worn notebook. The assembly gasped as the general read aloud the false flag commands that had sent Titans against their own walls.
This diary is not a spy's tool. It is the most damning intelligence document this kingdom has ever seen.
All those quiet nights with the birds, they were recording a crime I never imagined.
May watched from the gallery, her eyes steady as Naoki stepped forward to speak.
Naoki asked no reward, only that we learn to see the world as he does. His quiet eye exposed our greatest danger.
I just wrote what I saw. The deer, the birds, the wind, they speak if we listen. Maybe now we will.
A scribe sealed the diary in a glass case, entering it as official evidence, a monument to the power of attention. Naoki stood at the chamber's edge, his small notebook having toppled a war machine. The silence of lies was broken. Months later, the kingdom still trembled with the aftershocks of the tribunal, but the garrison garden bloomed in quiet defiance.
They promoted me to lead counterintelligence. But honestly, Naoki, your diary did more than any of my training.
I almost stopped writing after the attack. I thought if I never picked up a pen again, none of this would have happened. Now, I know the diary wasn't a curse. It was a witness. I'll keep writing.
May walked beside him, her new insignia catching the light, a quiet testament to courage awakened by a cadet's journal.
The world needs more people who notice. You are proof that attention is its own form of courage.
She saved my life, and she gave my diary meaning beyond my own small world.
They stopped under the old oak where he used to watch the birds. The branches were full again.
The birds are back. I saw them this morning. I think I'll write that down tonight.
May smiled. Between them passed a quiet understanding. The war wasn't over, but the truth had found its voice. The sky softened into amber as Naoki sat alone beneath the old oak, his diary resting on one knee.
Every flap of their wings feels like a second chance. The world didn't end. It kept going.
The birds have returned to the East Ridge. The wind is calm. Today, I noticed the world again. He set the pen down, the ink still wet, and let the silence wrap around him like a familiar coat.
All those days in the cell, I thought my noticing was a curse. But it was never about predicting disaster. It was about paying witness to existence.
A single leaf drifted onto the page, as if the tree itself wanted to be remembered. Slipping the diary into his coat, he stood and walked the familiar path through the trees, his boots soft on the fallen leaves. He no longer felt like a forgotten cadet. In his chest sat a quiet, unshakable certainty. The diary, worn and soft at the edges, pressed against his side, a companion through the darkest days. Naoki looked up through the branches, the birds singing overhead, and heard not a warning, but a welcome. The seasons turned. In the new outdoor classrooms, children sketched birds and tracked the wind, their small notebooks filling with quiet wonder. The diary rested in its glass case, worn pages open to the entry about the deer fleeing the southern wood. May trained a new generation of intelligence officers, her lectures beginning with a simple diary and a boy who listened. From the wall, the city looked serene, watchtowers manned by those who now understood the value of a second glance. Naoki still walked the forest paths, his eyes tracing the migration patterns, his journal filling with gentle records of a healing world.
The birds never stopped singing. I just finally learned why.
He was no longer a forgotten cadet, but the quiet conscience of the kingdom, a reminder that truth often wears the plainest uniform. The diary, still frayed at the edges, passed into legend, not as a weapon, but as a witness. And whenever someone asked how the conspiracy was broken, the answer was always the same. It started with a boy who watched the birds, and it ended because the birds came home.